It's the start of a new era for the building that hosts the Carolina Hurricanes as we say goodbye to PNC Arena and say hello to the Lenovo Center.
You're Locked On Hurricanes, your daily podcast on the Carolina Hurricanes, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome to a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Thank you to the Everyday for making this your first listen of the day. 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, talking everything about your Carolina Hurricanes. I am your host, Zach Martin. I am the credentialed Carolina Hurricanes beat writer over at the Hockey Writers. I also do a column on the Chicago Wolves called Wolves Weekly, which will be starting here in a few weeks. I'm also the co-host of The Surge Cast, is a weekly Carolina Hurricanes podcast, along with all my other duties here at Locked On Hurricanes. On today's show, we get to actually talk about the rights being now moving over from PNC Arena to the Lenovo Center. We're going to talk about all that and what that means for the team and their helmet sponsor, now building sponsor as well. We're also going to talk about the training camp schedule that was also released on Thursday afternoon. And then this weekend, we have the Prospect Showcase. We'll tell you what days, what times, and where to watch, and maybe some of the guys you need to keep an eye on for the upcoming Prospect Showcase. But before we jump into all of that, today's episode is brought to you by Indeed. Start hiring now with a $75 sponsored job credit to upgrade your job. Post at Indeed.com/lockedon. So like I said, we're going to talk about the start of what is the new era for the Carolina Hurricanes in terms of the fact that the arena is now going to be called the Lenovo Center instead of PNC Arena, which it has been for the last few years. Now, for those who don't know, Lenovo is actually the partner of the Carolina Hurricanes since 2010, and that's where they were part of the team's helmet decal sponsor. So they're expanding their partnership to now where it's not just the helmet sponsor, but they're also the building sponsor as well, and the official technology partner of the Carolina Hurricanes. And the one good thing about Lenovo, from what I'm just reading up about, is that they're one of the largest employers in the Triangle region and estimate over $1.5 billion in economic and financial impact on North Carolina, and its roots run deep in the Old North State since 2005, where one of its two global headquarters is actually in Mooresville, North Carolina. So very, very awesome to see it, that Lenovo is going to keep running its roots even deeper in the Triangle area, with your Carolina Hurricanes being the new arena sponsor. And that's actually going to be a 10-year deal that's going to run through the 2033-34 National Hockey League season. So we're going to get 10 years at least of the Lenovo Center, which is really, really cool. So if you're looking at the past histories, with the fact we had, PNC Arena was originally the Entertainment and Sports Arena in 1999, became RBC Center in 2002, then became PNC in 2012, and now officially after 12 years, we are now going to have the Lenovo Center. So from Brian Fork, the Chief Executive Officer of the Carolina Hurricanes, he said, Lenovo has been a valued partner of ours for many years. We're thrilled to elevate that partnership by renaming the arena Lenovo Center. Lenovo has brought both strong local ties and a worldwide footprint. We're proud to have the Hurricanes name associated with a true leader in global technology. As we transition to this new era, we are grateful for our longtime naming rights collaborator, PNC, who will continue to be a major partner in our organization. So yes, PNC will still be around, as they will now be naming two different suites after PNC Bank. So make sure to go check those new areas out where there's just normal suite names and stuff like that, or hangout areas. And then the arena now, they're going to be named after PNC. So they're still going to stick around. It's just in a lesser capacity to where Lenovo is going to move itself up. But like I said, it's really awesome to see for the fact that you get a new stadium name. It's a new upgrade. I mean, everyone just kind of used to PNC Arena for the last few years. Now, everyone just called it PNC. Now it's what nickname are we going to come up with? Is it going to be the LC? Is it going to be the Lensen? So I don't know. I'm curious to see what everyone's thoughts are, what the potential nickname is going to be, or if it's just going to be Lenovo. So I guess it'll be kind of curious. It'll be fun to see what the fans are going to call it and what the nickname of the new arena is going to be. But it's awesome that with all the stuff that's going around, especially with, the phase 1 renderings have come out to showcase what the new tailgate districts are going to be like outside the arena. Of course, parking is going to be different, but now we're going to have tailgate suites and stuff like that for more fan experience outside the arena. So if you haven't checked that out, make sure you go do that at hurricanes.com. They are really awesome renderings. I'm really excited to see how those come out, and the fact that this can be a new era of the Carolina Hurricanes where you're getting a new name, but you're also getting a lot of new fan experiences that are built around the arena that's been around since 1999. So it's really awesome to see. After basically 26, 27 years, now we're going to get some upgrades to the area that around that is now the Lenovo Center. So going back to the thoughts of what people are saying about this new partnership with Lenovo and the Hurricanes. So Philip Irsay, the chairman of the Centennial Authority, said, "This is an exciting day for Raleigh, Wake County, and the whole state of North Carolina. This partnership is about more than just renaming the arena. Lenovo will play a vital role integrating technology into our upcoming arena renovations and enhancements. Lenovo has deep roots in North Carolina, and we're thrilled that they are strengthening those roots with this naming rights." And even more so, this was followed up by Ryan McCurdy, the senior vice president and president of Lenovo North America. "Lenovo has called North Carolina our home for nearly 2 decades. Like the Hurricanes, we take a great pride in being part of the Triangle community. And we're excited to expand our partnership with a world-class sports organization. The arena is one of the most recognizable venues in the state, and the newly named Lenovo Center will continue to be the premier destination for people to enjoy sporting events, concerts, and more." And I could not agree more with the fact that with all the renovations they're going to start up soon, it's going to be awesome. The fact that you see where it's like, formerly named PNC Arena, it's kind of like been like the middle of the pack in terms of like, rankings of arenas and stuff like that, just inside and outside. And now with the renovations are going to happen too over the next few years, it's going to be one of those things where it's going to be a destination for people to go to for in terms of like what they were saying, sports, of concerts, and so much more. Now it's going to be, you're looking at a possible top 10 arena in the NHL. And of course, that's also talking about for, NC State basketball too, which will be really awesome to see. So I'm really, really excited to see what the final product looks like after all these years of the renovations that they got going on. And it actually starts this September, so not too much longer. We should be able to see the new name being part of the arena. Of course, when you see the pictures or renderings of right now what it was kind of supposed to look like, it's not really final detail yet. There's going to be some, maybe some minor changes, but you're kind of get the gist of what the arena naming is going to look like on the outside of the arena. Of course, if you were on social media, you saw that there was a clip from AHL 25 where they were showing some gameplay footage of the game that's coming out, here in early October. And unfortunately, they did show some game footage of the Carolina Hurricanes in AHL 25. And the name on the ice kind of spoiled the surprise. It's the ice did see a Lenovo Center already on the on the gameplay trailer. So in NHL 25 fashion, they leaked something super early that the Hurricanes were not ready to do just yet, because we saw how they kind of leaked that the Hughes brothers were going to be part of the different editions of the game. And now they also gave away the name of what the new arena is going to be, because we all knew PNC Arena was going to be possibly ending. We didn't know the name for sure. And NHL 25 was like, surprise, here you go. It's actually Lenovo Center. So it's like, you're going to have to move up the date to release it. So it is what it is, but at least we know what the arena is going to be called now. It's going to be the Lenovo Center, so it's going to match the helmets and all that good stuff. And of course, so that it's going to be the biggest technology. I'm going to be looking forward to seeing what the renovations look like with the Lenovo technology and just all the new special graphics and designs and stuff they're going to do for that. But really, really exciting times. I'm happy that the Hurricanes are able to work out with Lenovo, and the fact that they're, sinking their roots deeper into the Old North State, especially around the Triangle area. And in that, they've been there since 2005. Now they get to expand to at least 2034 with the new name of the arena. Now, speaking of the arena, we got some hockey coming up very, very soon, as the training camp schedule was announced on Thursday afternoon, and we get to see what that looks like over the next few weeks as we get closer to the NHL season on October 11th. So stick around as we'll talk about the training camp schedule here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Passion, drive, and patience. The Formula 40 Championships is also what keeps your ride or die alive. eBay Motors is everything you need to maintain your vehicle and level it up to peak performance. Superchargers, roof racks, exhaust kits, LED headlights, and more. Whether you're into speed, power, or style, eBay Motors has you covered. With over 122 million parts for your number one ride or die, you always find exactly what you're looking for. And with eBay Guaranteed Fit, your part is guaranteed to fit your ride every time or your money back. Because with eBay Motors, you're burning rubber, not cash. With all the parts you need at the prices you want, it's easy to make your car the MVP and bring them huge wins. Keep your ride or die alive at ebaymotors.com. Eligible items only. Exclusions apply. eBay Guaranteed Fit is only available to U.S. customers. Welcome back to segment 2 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. So like I said at the end of segment 1, we actually going to talk about the training camp schedule that was just announced by the Carolina Hurricanes on Thursday afternoon, which will actually start on September 18th at the Carolina Family Practice in Sports Medicine in Raleigh. And they start going over their team meetings at Lenovo Center starting later that afternoon. And then practices will kind of swap between Lenovo Center and Invisalign Arena that will also be in Morrisville, North Carolina. So the team will be split into Group C1 and C2 like we usually see over the years. Mostly C1 is going to be mostly a lot of like the bigger names and stuff like that. And C2 is kind of like your prospects, fringe guys, AHL guys, stuff like that. Even, some of the younger guys as well. So you're kind of getting to see what that kind of looks like. I know that practices at Invisalign Arena will be open to the public itself, but with Lenovo Center practices, that'll be only open to media. So if you want to make sure to go check that out, if you are wanting to get out to see some practices and see your Hurricanes, September 20th at 9 and 11 a.m., that's when you're going to have C2 and C1 practice at Invisalign on September 20th. Then you're looking at September 26th. They'll be back in Invisalign Arena then, and then later on, they're going to be there for September 30th and October 1st for some more open practices. Then October 3rd and October 4th, they're going to have more open practices at Invisalign Arena. And then on October 8th, 9th, and 10th, they'll be back at Invisalign Arena. So those are your dates that you're looking for. If you want to look for sure, go to CarolinaHurricanes.com. There's an article for that where you can check out the schedule and see what time and where those practices are going to be at if you want to go watch your Hurricanes live. Now, there's a couple off days for the Hurricanes. They got one on September 22nd, September 29th, and they also got one on October 6th. So there's your off days for the Canes. Of course, we know what the practice what the preseason is going to look like. We got September 24th at 7:00 and Tampa Bay. Then we got September 27th against Florida at home, and then the 28th back on the road in Florida. And then going into October, we got Nashville October 2nd, Tampa Bay October 4th, and then Nashville October 5th. So at least we know what the preseason already looks like. Of course, there's going to be some non-group practices, so the guys who are not going to be, going to the games, they're going to be doing their own practice. And of course, the guys who are going to be in that game are going to have their group skates as well. So a lot of things are going on in terms of what the schedule kind of looks like. But you kind of get the gist of where the Hurricanes are going to be kind of running through their systems and stuff like that. And of course, we all know that the mainstays are going to be like, Sebastian Aho, Seth Jarvis, and all them are going to be part of C1. C2, I'm really curious to see who's going to be there. Are we looking at possibly Bradley Nadeau, Jackson Blake, and those guys? Are they going to be part of the C2 group, or is this going to be? Are they going to be the extra fillers on the C1 group and being part of the main guys who maybe have a shot to make the roster? Because we all know that's kind of like early on, it's not the really biggest thing of where some of these guys are. Of course, as camp and preseason goes along, you'll see some shuffling going around and stuff like that of where certain guys may be and stuff like that as camp goes on. Maybe they might bounce around back to the top or the bottom group. It just depends on how Rod Brindamore and his staff want to look at it. But overall, it's good to see that we are officially right around the corner from camp and stuff like that. Because like I said, we're looking at September 18th, that will be next Wednesday. So we're not that far off. We're less than a week away from the start of training camp. And of course, then we got that long build up to the start of the regular season that will be October 11th against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Now, the main things is who should we keep an eye on in terms of what this prospect, what in terms of this training camp is going to be. And of course, Bradley Nadeau is going to be the name to look at. Jackson Blake, probably Felix Sorum. In terms of the defense, I would not really expect anyone that might crack the lineup. You're kind of looking at who might be the seventh D-man at that point. I would love to see Scott Morrow up, but it's going to be kind of hard to crack that group of the defense where it's Slavin and Burns, probably Orlov, Walker, Gostisbehere, and Chatfield. Those are your main six. At that point, is just who's your seventh. Is it going to be Ty Smith? Is it going to be Riley Stillman? Who really knows? So I wouldn't really worry about the defense too much of who's going to crack into it. It's just who's going to be that extra guy in the press box to give the guys a break, or if something happens to them. Mainly, it's going to be looking to see how those guys kind of gel together and who the defensive pairings are going to be. Now, will we know in camp who they're going to be paired with? I mean, we'll see who they're with, but will it be the actual opening night grouping? It begs to be seen, but of course, we know in the past that it has been, whenever we see pairings in camp on day one, usually it's what it's going to be like at the start of the season, but who really knows? You'd be really surprised where it might be one thing that night, and then by the time we get to October 11th, it could be completely different. So it just really depends on what Rod Brindamore and Tim Gleason see in terms of the defense. But overall, the defense is kind of locked into where they're at. I wouldn't really be kind of too worried about who's going to be there and all that good stuff. So either way, I think it's going to be fun to watch to see what the defense is going to look like. Of course, the forward core, we kind of know that the top line is probably going to be Andrei Svechnikov, Sebastian Aho, and Seth Jarvis. Of course, it could change in terms of, would you swap Jarvis and Nietzsche's? Maybe, but after the season that Jarvis and Aho had, I wouldn't really want to split those guys up, especially, coming into the season where you're going to need those two guys to really lead the charge for the Carolina Hurricanes. And hopefully you see Andrei Svechnikov, overcome the season that he had last year. Of course, he did deal with a lot of injuries. Started the season, got hurt a couple more times. Was a point per game guy for most of the season. So I expect him to have a bounce back year, building off of last season and stuff like that. That's the second line that's going to be very interesting to watch. Of course, if you don't really know who your second line center is getting, the second line left wing is going to be. I wouldn't be surprised if just Kokiniemi and Martin Nietzsche just kind of round out the rest of that line. Do we see a Jack Roslovic be a second-line left winger? Do we see Jordan Martino get the bump up? Or is it going to be a case of, will it be a Jackson Blake or a Bradley Nadeau on the second-line left wing spot? So who really knows? I'd be kind of curious to see how that works out. Third line, it's probably going to be the Jordans more than anything else. Now, will we see Jack Roslovic there? Or if they move Jack to the second line, do we see maybe like a Jackson Blake at the third right wing? Or Felix Sorum kind of working in that way as well, which kind of ties into the fourth line. Unfortunately with Jesper Fostow and stuff like that. Now it's most likely it's going to be Jack Drury and William Carrier, kind of with Carrier being on the left side, Jack in the center. Is your right wing spot going to be a prospect? If we talk to we talked to Mike Scott on the Search Cast and talked to him earlier this summer. It could be a situation where it might be a young guy who's like, hey, we're just going to put you on the fourth line just to get you some minutes and see how you do. So that could be a spot where it's, like I said, an Understorm, a Jackson Blake. Or do you go with the speedy guy like an Eric Robinson? Because from what Seth Jarvis said, that he thinks that Robinson's very underrated and really fast. So do we see a guy who's usually on the left wing play a right wing on the fourth line with Jack Drury and William Carey, and that is maybe an Eric Robinson, or do we see a Brendan Lemieux and stuff like that, one of those guys? And then who's your extras? Is it, like I said, is it Lemieux that's going to be an extra? Is it going to be who's your defensive seventh guy? Do you see Tyson Jost being like the extra center on the team right now? I know from Puckpedia, they said that Sam Gagner is also going to be signing as a PTO with the Hurricanes. Not official yet by the Canes themselves, but from what Puck PD is saying, Sam Gagne is going to be part of a professional tryout. So is that a possible extra buy that the Canes could use at a center position if you think Tyson Jost isn't really it? Or do you get an AHL guy like, Sam Gagne, who could slide into the roster on a wing spot and maybe try to bring some top 9 depth to the team? So who really knows how that works out? So the forward core, I'd say, is probably the biggest question marks and probably the biggest group to watch as we go through training camp and stuff like that. But that's kind of where we're at right now. Like I said, it starts on September 18th, runs through October 10th. Like I said, if you go to the website, you can see where the open practices are at Invisalign Arena. That's the only place where the public can go watch them practice, is at Invisalign. Anything in Lenovo is going to be media only. But we do have the Prospect Showcase coming up this weekend, and it's going to be in Nashville, Tennessee for a couple games set for the Prospect guys. So we get to talk about what times, where to watch, and who to keep an eye on for these prospects at the Prospect Showcase in Nashville, Tennessee. So stick around, as we'll talk about that here in a second on a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. We're driven by the search for better, but when it comes to hiring, the best way to search for a candidate isn't to search at all. Don't search, match with Indeed. If you need to hire, you need Indeed. Indeed is your matching and hiring platform with over 350 million global monthly visitors, according to Indeed data, and a matching engine that helps you find quality candidates fast. Ditch the busy work. Use Indeed for scheduling, screening, and messaging so you can connect with candidates faster. And Indeed doesn't just help you hire faster. 93% of employers agree Indeed delivers the highest quality matches compared to your job sites, according to a recent Indeed survey. And the one things I like about Indeed is how fact it's so easy to cater to what you're looking for if you're an employee looking for a job, and even if you're an employer, they do a really great job of actually being able to constantly learn from your preferences to help you find better candidates fast. And by doing that, you're leveraging over 140 million qualifications and preferences every day with Indeed. And Indeed's matching engine is constantly learning from your preferences. So the more you use Indeed, the better it gets. Join more than 3.5 million businesses worldwide that use Indeed to hire great talent fast. And listeners of this show will get a $75 sponsored job credit to get your job more visibility at Indeed.com/lockedon. Just go to Indeed.com/lockedon right now and support our show by saying you heard about Indeed on this podcast. Once again, that is Indeed.com/lockedon. Terms and conditions apply. Need to hire? Well, you need Indeed. Welcome back to segment 3 of Locked On Hurricanes, your team every day. And thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen of the day. For your second listen, enjoy the Locked On NHL podcast. Locked On NHL provides you with a national perspective on all things NHL each and every day, with national experts and local insight on every team in the league. Available on YouTube or wherever you get podcasts. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So like I said at the end of segment 2, we're going to talk about the Prospect Showcase a little bit as we get to figure out, what times the Hurricanes prospects are going to play, where you can watch, and some guys you might need to keep an eye on. So for the games that actually starts on Friday, September 13th, so later tonight, you actually get to see the first game for the Hurricanes prospects at 6 p.m. against the Tampa Bay Lightning. Then on Saturday at 3 p.m. against the Florida Panthers. And then on Monday afternoon, on September 16th against the Nashville Predators, that'll be a 2 p.m. Eastern start. And are you able to watch the games? Yes, you actually can watch the games. If you go to Hurricanes.com, there will be a links to watch the games, and that will be posted on the front page of the Hurricanes website probably about 10 to 15 minutes before puck drop. So like I said, start times on Friday, 6 p.m., 3 p.m. Saturday, 2 p.m. Monday. So make sure to be there within 10 to 15 minutes before the drop of the puck. That way you can see links to be able to watch those games. So you are able, Hurricanes fans, if you're not going to be in Nashville for these Prospect Showcase games, you are going to be able to watch them online at Hurricanes.com. So very, very awesome to see that the Hurricanes are going to be able to stream the games so you can kind of watch the prospects and see, how they're going to stack up going into the training camp that starts next Wednesday by kind of getting a leg up on the competition, as they say, as they get to go through this Prospect Showcase in Nashville, Tennessee. Now, the guys to keep an eye on, So now the roster will have 14 players drafted by the Carolina Hurricanes over the last few years, but it's also the main guys to keep an eye on. 2013 first-round pick Bradley Nadeau, 2023 second-round pick Felix Sunderstorm, 2021 second-round pick Scott Morrow, and of course, the 2024 Hobie Baker winner and the 2021 fourth-round pick in Jackson Blake. Those are going to be the kind of the guys that I think are going to be the big ones to watch for. I know with Scott, I said that he might be starting in the AHL, but I would definitely keep my eye on Nadeau, Sorum, and also on Blake, because those are the three guys who might be vying for a roster spot come on opening night. But even then, watching Scott Morrow, that's going to be fun to see how he does against other competition for the fact of how good he was at UMass last season. Other notable Hurricanes to keep an eye on, of course, Noah Gunler is going to be there. He was a second-round pick back in 2020. Alexei Himusami back in the second round of 2021. Gleb Trikasov, Anthony Honka, Dominic Fensor from the 2019 draft, Justin Robidoux, Charles Alexis Legault, Ruslan Kaziev. He's the goaltender back from the 2023 fifth round. Justin Poirier back in this recent draft of the fifth round. And, of course, the guy I'm really looking forward to and to see what he does, because I talked about him on the Hockey Writers on a roundtable article of like a prospect who I would really like to see kind of show out this year. How about Ronan Seeley, part of the 2020 draft back in the seventh round? So those are going to be a lot of the prospects to keep an eye on. A lot of names, 14 guys who were drafted by the Carolina Hurricanes are going to be part of this prospect showcase. So in the comments, let me know what you think. Of course, we all know that everyone's going to be watching Sorum and Nadeau and Morrow and Blake, but who are the 2 or 3 guys that you're going to keep an eye on that's not one of the main focus points that people are keeping an eye on? For me, I'm looking forward to see how Noah Gunler does. Really like his game. I really want to see how Justin Poirier does, because he's supposed to have a really great shot, and he really showed out in the QMJHL last year. And then, of course, Ronan Seeley. He's played with the Chicago Wolves over the last few years. I'm really excited to see what he can do, and just being able to be kind of reunited with the full group again and to see what he does in what I hope is a really huge year for him. So there are some free agents that are part of the team as well. And of course, some guys that might be, PTOs in a sense for the prospects. They're also got, Yanov Peretz, who is with the Carolina Hurricanes. He got last year in his contract. We also got invitees of Skylar Brindamore, Carter Kalick, Zachary Lavoie, Connor Lockhart, Brandon McCollum, Luca Testa, and Antonin Verlote. So those are the other guys who are going to be invited to the prospect showcase. Like I said, Yanov Peretz also being one of the goaltenders who played with the Norfolk Admiral last year in the ECHL, with the fact that there was no AHL team for the Carolina Hurricanes. But that's kind of what you're looking at in terms of where to, what times. Like I said, 6 o'clock on Friday, 3 o'clock on Saturday, 2 o'clock on Monday, because Sunday is the off day for all the teams. So, and luckily you're able to watch on the Carolina Hurricanes website. Be right there on that front page. Just do check in like 10, 15 minutes beforehand, and you'll watch all those guys. So, like I said, I'm really excited to see what Ronan Seeley can do. Of course, Justin Poirier and all the other prospects. Of course, everyone's got to be excited for the big names. Like, how can you not be excited for Bradley Nadeau, who's basically kind of shot up the draft rankings, had a great year at Maine, already is considered to have an AHL plus shot, and someone who I think could potentially has the best shot to make in the roster for the Carolina Hurricanes on October 11th. But, of course, you really can't overlook Jackson Blake, 60 points with North Dakota, Hobie Baker finalist. Talking to Canes prospects, he's like one of those guys that could probably fit into the roster really, really well, too. Felix Sunderstorm is a big name to watch. Of course, this is his first year in North America. We all liked what he did last year at camp. One of the last guys to get cut and sent back to the SHL, but who knows? Maybe that year in the Swedish Hockey League might have helped him out too. But I don't know. A lot of good storylines and a lot of position battles are going to come into camp here in just a couple, just a few days actually. So the prospect showcase will be a big main thing for these guys, and of course to transition to the fact that you've got the last games on Monday afternoon, you got Tuesday off, and then boom, you come right into Hurricanes training camp on Wednesday, and now it's time to show out. And what are you going to do? You're going to be at Lenovo Center, you're going to be at Invisalign Arena. now it's time to show up and prove to the coaching staff that you are worthy of being there. So it's going to be very, very fun to see. So one quick programming update. We are going back to 5 days a week starting on Monday. So the off season for us here at Locked On, the Locked On NHL podcast, we are going back to 5 days a week. So you will be hearing me Monday through Friday starting next week. And I'm actually super excited because we actually have a special guest for our Wolves Wednesday edition of the podcast. So yes, we are going to talk Chicago Wolves next Wednesday. Basically, I know it's the kickoff of the training camp, but I'm really excited for our guest, already locked in and ready to go. So you guys definitely need to keep an eye out for that guest announcement over the weekend. But that will wrap up a Friday edition of Locked On Hurricanes. Thank you for making Locked On Hurricanes your first listen today. Now go check out Locked On NHL podcast, where the season never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. You can find the link to Locked On NHL in the description, so you don't need to search. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. If you want to keep up with me, anything that's going on with the Carolina Hurricanes, you can follow me at OneTrueZach on X. The podcast is LO_Hurricanes. If you click the link tree in my bio, you can find all my articles at the Hockey Writers is covering the Carolina Hurricanes. And here in a few weeks, we'll also be talking about the Chicago Wolves as well for my Wolves Weekly. There is a link to watch and listen to my other podcast, The Surgecast. And, of course, there's links for this podcast to where to listen to Locked On Hurricanes on all podcast platforms, as we are in the top 60 in North America for hockey podcasts. So thank you to everyone for supporting the show and putting us into the top 60 in terms of North American hockey podcasts. Make sure to leave a 5-star rating and review, because if you do it, I might just rail on the show. And on the YouTube side of things, make sure to hit the subscribe button, click the bell notifications so you don't miss the show, hit the thumbs up to let me know that you like the show as well. We are very, very close to 960 subscribers. We are on the road to 1,000, and if we hit 1,000 subscribers, I might do something special for you guys. So make sure to share the podcast with all their Caniacs so they become everydayers just like you. But I hope everyone enjoyed the Friday episode of Locked On Hurricanes. Hope everyone enjoys their Friday and enjoys some very, very fun prospect hockey over the weekend. And until next Monday, we're back to 5 days a week. I'm Zach. This is Locked On Hurricanes, and we'll see you next time. And finally, let's go Canes.